Hello. I'm gonna be honest. I have been struggling recently to figure out how I want to navigate this space in particular, but also just online spaces in general where I put out things that I make for a number of reasons. Some of them are personal, some of them are just trying to be a creative, an artist, and a human in the current world state. And it's hard. I'm not gonna lie, it has not been easy. But that being said, there's definitely been a part of me that has been missing this space, missing getting to make videos and talk about books on this platform and share bits of my life. If you hear rustling down there, my very cute elder kitty is curled up in a box that has been officially designated as hers for about 5 months. I'm not allowed to throw it away. But yeah, she's here. She is watching over, or joining in on the video, shall we say. But yeah, I've been missing making videos in this space and had a feeling recently where it's like, well, just do something simple. It doesn't have to be something super scripted or researched, just do something casual. And so that's what today's video I'm hoping is going to be. I'm going to do a little TBR shelf reset. I don't think I've ever really given a kind of bookshelf tour, if you will. I don't know if I will ever do a super in-depth one, but I felt like at least part of this video today could be a little bit of insight into what books are actually on my shelf, sort of as I'm going through and picking out new ones that I kind of want to curate for myself for the coming weeks / summer months. Give you a little sort of close-up visual footage, and if you are so inclined, you can pause the video and read through the titles that are on the shelves. You can ask me in the comments what something is and I will do my best to answer, but I don't think I have the emotional or artistic bandwidth to do those very in-depth bookshelf tours where, you know, people will pull off individual books and show each of them. Not me. Can't do that. I have too many books and not enough bandwidth. So all of that is a very long-winded way to start this video that I thought was going to be a casual, easy drop-in, sort of a let's do this. Let me zoom you in a little bit. This section of my bookshelf is sort of what I call my TBR pile, or sort of the on the back burner reading pile. This is one of my thinner Billy bookcases from IKEA, and on top and bottom, up above this, is creative nonfiction, mainly essay collections. The two shelves that are below this one immediately are more memoir journals that have been published, and then also some stuff on writing and writers, mainly 2 books by Julia Cameron, who is known for The Artist's Way, which I am meaning to dig into at some point. And then on the very bottom shelf currently is my graphic novel collection. But back to this shelf. This is the current state of the shelf. This is, I think I put this together probably around March as sort of a late winter, early spring kind of a TBR mood. And I think I need to go through it and refresh it a little bit and figure out, okay, are there still books in this list that I am really inclined to read like immediately, and what can I potentially put away, and then also pull from my shelves to sort of refresh this TBR. So I'm not going to go in depth on books as much as I can, as much as I love to ramble about books, but again, these are books I haven't read yet, so I can't give you much information. But starting off at the top of my previous TBR, we have Love and Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. We have Joan Didion, Slouching Towards Bethlehem. I'm going to put this one to the side because I know I really do want to read it soon. I've really been in an essay collection reading mindset. This is called Henry and June, from The Unexpected Diary of Anais Nin. I believe this is published excerpts from some of Anais Nin's journals about her sort of torrid relationship with the playwright Henry Miller. I am not sure. I'm going to put this in the maybe pile to keep in the TBR because this is a book that I did pick up fairly recently, as in 2 months ago, at a used book sale. And so it is still sort of prevalent on my mind, but I don't know if I am specifically in the mood for this yet, but I'm going to put it aside for now and come back to it. Oh, and I don't know if I said, but I'm going to shelve this one for now. Next we have what I believe is a young adult medieval historical fiction book that has been on my radar for years and years. I finally got a copy, I think it was last year, maybe. This is Hild by Nicola Griffith, and a moment for this absolutely stunning cover. I have not been one, even as someone who is a huge lover of history, have not always really gravitated towards, say, medieval history, but recently I read a book that involved time travel back to the Middle Ages, and it definitely sparked sort of a level of interest in me that has not really existed prior. And so I'm going to hold this in the maybe pile for now, because it is still sort of tapping into that itch that has sort of started from that previous book that I read. Next we have Billie Holiday's memoir. This is Lady Sings the Blues. I'm going to say maybe to this for right now. I'm going to hold, because I feel like I'm in definitely a memoir, creative nonfiction writing, wanting to read that mode, but also in a writing mode. I'm doing a lot of writing of that. So this feels potentially poignant and timely. Next we have Last Night at the Telegraph Club, which, young adult historical fiction novel with some LGBTQ plus history. It is currently Pride Month when I'm filming this, so this is definitely going to be a maybe hold for the moment. The Master and the Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov. This is a classic that I've been meaning to read for several years. I am still very excited to read it, but to me, this feels like a fall/winter read, and since I didn't get to it this past fall or winter, I think I'm going to put this aside for now. Next up, we have The Writing Life by Annie Dillard. I think this is one I'm definitely going to keep on my TBR shelf at the moment. It is, again, creative nonfiction, but specifically dealing with, as the title suggests, the writing life, and that is something that I'm kind of deeply immersed in at the moment. And also this is a very slim volume that I can easily slide in a purse and take with me, so that is appealing to me at the moment. Next we have, this is a published diary called A Chill in the Air, an Italian war diary, 1939 to 1940 by Iris Gorigo. Apologies to any Italians out there. Sort of what it says on the tin, this is a diary written initially by an Italian partisan during the Second World War. I think I'm going to put this aside for now. This is Transit by Anna Seghers. I feel like I'm still looking forward to this book, but it's one that I need to put down or shelve for now. Next up we have Homage to Catalonia by George Orwell. This is a memoir, I believe, of his time fighting in the Spanish Civil War in the Workers' Party of Marxist Unity against the fascist dictatorship that was taking over the country. Part of me feels on the fence about this just because it feels like a very poignant read, a very applicable read. But I don't know. I think for now I'm going to shelve it, and if I keep thinking about it, I can always easily just pull it off the shelf and read it. So I'm going to shelve this one for now. I think in a somewhat similar vein, I feel a little bit more on the fence about this one because it is fiction. Because it's fiction? I don't know. I feel slightly similar to this about how I did Homage to Catalonia, but more inclined to potentially say maybe to this one. This is Crowley's Mandolin by Louis this guy. This guy whose name I can't pronounce at the moment apparently, but historical fiction about the Second World War on, I believe, an island in Greece that is occupied by the Nazis. And I've heard nothing but good things about this book. It has been on my TBR for years, and I think that's also in part why I'm inclined to say maybe to this at this point. Another book that I have been aggressively meaning to read but is still on my TBR shelf, we have All This Could Be Different by Sarah Thankam Matthews. This is a contemporary lit-fic book, I believe. I'm going to put this in the maybe pile for now and revisit. Then we have Swan's Way by Marcel Proust. This is the first book in his which series? In Search of Lost Time. And I'm going to shelve this for now, mainly just because this, in my heart, feels like a book that I would really like to read in the fall or the winter. So this is My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. Again, meaning to read this for forever, and I still feel very strongly inclined about wanting to read this, so this is going to be in the keep pile for the moment. Oof. Dusty. If I use this as an excuse to dust this shelf. And the book. Oof. Okay. Next up we have Blackouts by Justin Torres. This is one that I have been highly anticipatory about and still feel strongly inclined to read ASAP, so this is going to be in the keep pile. Likewise, this is a nonfiction book that I picked up secondhand that feels very poignant and also feels like I feel like I need to read this in this moment in time. This is Dancing in the Streets, A History of Collective Joy by Barbara, oh goodness, Ehrenreich, my apologies, but yes, feels very apt for this moment. We'll just read you a snippet of the inside flap here. It says, in her previous book, the author delved into the origins of our species' attraction to war. Here, in this book, she explores the opposite human inclination, one that is equally universal and deep-rooted, yet has been so effectively suppressed that we lack even a convenient phrase for it. The desire for collective joy, expressed throughout the ages in ecstatic celebrations of feasting, costuming, and dancing. So this is staying on the TBR pile for sure. And then the final three books that are on this shelf are ones that I'm kind of back burner reading, so they will stay here for now. This one over here is called When the Light of Our World Was Subdued, Our Songs Came Through. It is a Norton anthology of Native Nations poetry curated by the wonderful Joy Harjo. I've also been very slowly making my way through the Diary of Virginia Woolf. This is the first volume of hers that has been published, and it's her diaries from 1915 to 1919. Have been enjoying that. And then this is a book titled Odin. It is sort of a mythological and spiritual book about the god Odin. So that is currently what is on my back burner and TBR shelf, and I'm going to take a minute to contemplate what I would like to pull out / keep on this shelf. So I will be back. All right, so I'm back. It is a little bit later in the day, as you can probably see from the lighting change and possibly the new hairdo that I ended up getting. Had to run out and go get my hair cut. So what I've gone and done is I have put away the books that I feel like I would like to shelve for now, and put the books that were from the previous TBR that I would still really like to get to really soon here, right here. I will quickly run through those for you. We have Dancing in the Streets by Barbara Ehrenreich. We have Blackouts by Justin Torres. We have Corelli's Mandolin by Louis de Bernay. Apparently I can say it this time. Hild by Nicola Griffith. All This Could Be Different by Sarah Thankum Matthews. My Brilliant Friend by Ellen Ferrante. Slashing Towards Bethlehem by Joan Didion, and The Writing Life by Annie Dillard. So that is currently what I'm working with as far as an upcoming TBR for the next couple months. What I'm going to do now is actually zoom you out and give you a little visual overview of what my shelves consist of and how I currently kind of have them organized. I will note that you may have seen earlier there is well, you'll see it again in a minute when I zoom out, but there is a tall brown box that is next to my shelves. That is another one of these thin white Billy bookcases that I need to set up here pretty soon because I'm kind of at overflow capacity when it comes to my creative nonfiction books. Slightly new organization style is coming, but for now, for the most part, actually hold on, before I get into it, let me zoom you out. Hold, please. I hope I'm in frame okay. Do a little French tuck, a little millennial French tuck, if you will, with this pant and shirt situation. So as previously mentioned, this is the soon-to-be newly assembled extra bookcase. But for now, the current situation is these 5 shelves here are all fiction. They are organized by author last name, and the very bottom shelf here is sci-fi and fantasy grouped together. Majority of the books on this shelf are the sci-fi and fantasy that I have not yet read, / a few favorites that I keep here, or series that I've started that I have not quite yet finished. Namely, I'm blanking on the name of the series, but it's a series by N.K. Jemisin. Starts with the 5th season. That is Chef's Kiss, and I really look forward to finishing that series. The rest of my fantasy, sci-fi stuff that I have read that are favorites that I'm keeping. A lot of them are from childhood, young adult years. There's yet another bookcase out in that room that I've never shown you. That has a lot of my childhood stuff on it. But this is sort of the active current bookcases that we're working with. As previously mentioned, these two shelves are for the most part essay collections, although there is some overflow with some of the books. Both of these are like diary memoir, which should technically be down here, but I have no space. So they're living up here for now. Currently reading Backburner, TBR pile, memoir, diary, some creative writing advice books in here as well. And then on the very bottom we have my graphic novel collection, as well as a few miscellaneous things like a scrapbook that my great-grandmother made that I'm currently using or referencing for a writing project. Over here we have the start of my, well, this is technically nonfiction, but this is like the nonfiction side. This up here is actually, these three shelves are sort of like the mainly history-focused books. I was a history major, and I also am a big lover of history, so that has sort of accumulated a good number of books in that category. The way that I have this section organized, I say organized loosely. Actually, let me shift over here. Maybe that gives you a better frame. But this is loosely organized by time period and sort of the earliest history, which at the moment, what I have is the American Revolution books that I currently have, American Civil War, Reconstruction, some women's history, some queer history thrown in here as well, and then this whole, well, the vast majority of this whole shelf here is World War I related history books. At the end of my history major, I ended up focusing on the First World War and the role that women played in it, so there are a good number of books to do with that I ended up using for my undergrad thesis, and books that I have obtained post-graduation that I still intend to read someday. Over here we get into some post-World War I stuff, Weimar Republic books, there are some Lost Generation books, as well as we start to get into a little bit of political science when it comes to the Russian Revolution. Starting here we have some things, or we have a collection of Trotsky's speeches and essays, along with a probably very dated book, but a political science book on communism in Russia and China. And then here's this stack of Russian Revolution, for the most part, modern Russian history books. That was also sort of a side focus of mine during undergrad. Along with a few political science books here, some more political science books. We have A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn, classic. The Origins of Totalitarianism by Hannah Arendt. I told you I wasn't going to go through and name all the books, but trying to give you a little bit of a reference here of what is on these shelves at a distance. And then into more, I guess I would say, modern political science stuff, class as well, class analysis. And then these two shelves here that you see are all women's studies. I was a women's studies minor, very passionate feminist to this day. And so all of these books are in reference to that and sort of my continuing study of that movement and lens of analysis. And then I would show you the very bottom shelf. But my cat is very cute and very asleep in this box. So if you will please hold with me for a minute, I will talk about the shelves that are behind me first, and then we'll see if I can carefully move her and not disturb her and set up the camera to where you can see the lower shelf better. Hold, please. I can't tell if I'm in frame or not, and I'm scared that I'm not, so hold, please. This section here is more, say, nonfiction overflow, general nonfiction. It's a bit of a hodgepodge of nonfiction. There's some food and historical food writing. Michael Pollan, Michael Twitty, The Cooking Gene. Very excited to get to these. Some books on the history of bibliophilia, or the nature of bibliophilia, the love and passion and some would say madness of collecting large amounts of books. History of textiles. Let's see, this is my section on Indigenous Americans. There is some memoir, some books on the intersection of Indigenous studies and feminism and women's studies. A little bit of nature, two books mainly, that are nature writing slash funny little bird books. But this is, I just have to pull this one out. This is the Field Guide to Dumb Birds of North America, and if you open up to any page, you will have a hoot and holler in time. Again, a little bit of overflow in this section just because there is not room back there, but John Green's latest book, Everything is Tuberculosis, so excited to read it. A little bit of overflow in women's history and feminist studies, women's studies, gender studies, take your pick. And then these two shelves we are starting to get more into, well actually this is in the wrong place, but I don't think there's room down there. Okay, that's why that's there. These two shelves are more so spirituality, mythology stuff related, tarot books as well. And the bottom two shelves here are both the poetry collection that I currently have, and I'm definitely looking to expand on. Let me just get a very cute and adorable shot of Molly, just so you can see what I'm having to disrupt.
Hi, Moo. Hi, Molly. Is it okay if I move you? Can I show the people the books?
She's so cute. She's so asleep. Hope she doesn't get mad at me. That went smoother than expected, although now she is slightly disgruntled. Sorry, Molly. The final shelf down here is, again, another hodgepodge of things that either don't fit elsewhere or don't have a overarching category to easily fit into. I have a little bit of women's history, a little bit of psychology, some general nonfiction. I have a big book by HarperCollins about plagues. There is a large collection on mental illness and women's writing. We have my currently five volumes of the local politics and literature magazine Liberties, based in DC, that I'm subscribed to. My big volume of History of Budapest that I'm still making my way through. Some more mythology stuff over here. And then I would say nonfiction that deals a lot with gardening and sewing and needlework and fiber arts, as well as a number of history magazines and literature magazines and such. So that, I would say, is the overarching current standard of organization of my bookshelves. I'm going to go through and take a little bit of time to figure out what books I'm going to pull to add to my TBR. And I think how I'm going to do this is I will film each shelf for about 10 seconds, so you can pause if you are very curious about what is on my shelves, and look at the different titles. I will pull off the books that I would like to pull off, but if you're not interested in seeing that process, I will put a timestamp somewhere here and down in the description, so you can skip to me talking about what books I actually picked for my TBR. So let's do it. So I have done a little perusing of my shelves, and I have a little stack of books on my lap here that I'm going to share with you. That is going to be an update for my upcoming TBR. I will run through these books somewhat quickly. I, for the most part, don't know too much about them or can't speak too much to them simply because I have not read them. But first off, we have The Book of Delights by Ross Gay. This is a collection of essays. Next is a book that I think I wanted to read at some point earlier this year but didn't get to it, but I feel in the spirit now. This is The Plague by Albert Camus. Next is The Last Supper by Rachel Cusk. This would be my first Cusk. I have been meaning to read her for quite a while. Another summary read that I didn't get to last year but hope to get to this year. This is To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf. How many of these books have I said that I've been meaning to read for a very long time but haven't yet? Because this is probably top of that list. This is Detransition Baby by Torrey Peters. This is one I've been meaning to read for quite a while and do a full-on review of. This feels the vibe, and this is potentially the cover art and the fact that it is Pride Month here in the US. I feel like I'm going to have part of the summer, potentially when I'm on a beach or by a river or a lake somewhere, or even by a pool, where I'm desperately in the mood to crack into a good, chunky, meaty kind of fantasy. And so I pulled The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke off of my fantasy sci-fi shelf. I've heard good things about this and have heard that there is some sapphic romance in here as well. We'd love to see it, and we also love to see buff women with short hair. I'll say it. I suppose in an adjacent vein to the fantasy itch that I often get in the summer, there is also at different points of the year having a magical realism kind of itch that I like to scratch, and so I have this book that I pulled off of my shelf. I don't know if you can tell in the video, but some of the stars that are on the front cover twinkle a little bit when you move them. They are not embossed, but they're shiny, and it's quite pretty. But this is, among other things, by Jo Walton. This is apparently winner of the Hugo and Nebula Awards, and from what I gather with this book, I picked it up at a used book sale. There is definitely some magical realism elements and potentially a girl growing up with knowledge of or the ability to do magic. But there are also some darker elements in here as well pertaining to her family and her mother specifically. So that is, among others, on my list for this summer. And finally, we have Pop Song Adventures in Art and Intimacy by Larissa Pham. This is an essay collection. This comes highly recommended by my friend Katie, who runs a wonderful Substack. I will link that down below. And at one point, it might have been last summer, she posted an essay after having read this collection in specific, talking about elements of it. And it really sort of gave me the nudge to really pick up this book at some point. I believe I read the first essay in here a while ago and really enjoyed it, but I get the sense, at least based off of that one essay that I read, that it's an essay collection dealing in part with pop culture, but also sort of coming of age in a digital world in your 20s. And that is something that I'm kind of keenly interested in exploring in a literary sense at the moment. I recently turned 30, very happily turned 30, and have definitely been doing a lot of reflecting and looking back at my 20s and doing a lot of writing about that as well. So I'm hoping that this book sort of feeds into that synaptic thinking, hopefully, that I'm developing around this topic and then trying to write about my 20s or your 20s in general in sort of a macro lens kind of way. But yeah, this is Pop Song. Looking forward to it. And would you look at that, they all fit quite perfectly in this little section. I'm definitely excited to delve back into reading. I haven't been doing that much reading this year so far. What I have read, I've really enjoyed, but yeah, I have not been picking up as many books as I have often done in the past by this point in the year, but I'm not beating myself up about it. I am sort of focusing more on writing at the moment, which has been really magical, in a lot of ways very cathartic. But yeah, sort of that's also one of the other reasons that I have felt a difficulty navigating the space of, well, what do I make content about if I haven't been reading a bunch of books? I appreciate your patience and your being here. And for those of you who are not bothered by a, at the moment, non-existent posting schedule. But yeah, no, just thank you for your patience. I'm trying to be patient with myself and find my footing, because I feel like we all are in this very wild, uncertain world. But I hope you're taking care of yourself. I hope you have been reading some good books, and I will see you hopefully soon. Take care.